Hello and welcome to my 6.2 technical model PowerPoint. So, what is the technical model? A technical model is a way of describing the performance of an individual based on the technique which is being shown. Coaches use the technical model as a perfect example and model of how the technique should look like. This is then relayed from the coach's perfect model onto the player's performance, and any changes to the technique of the performer are able to be made. The coach is constantly comparing the performance to the model so they can correctly alter the performer's technique to match the perfect model. This produces more qualitative data as a descriptive skill rather than mechanical data. It's qualitative because it comes from the coach and a descriptive high detail explaining each key part of the techniques, which produces a high amount of quality when demonstrated and explained properly. There are various ways of producing a technical model, and we are able to understand how the technical model is created. One way of producing the technical model is through a literature-based approach. This is where the coach may have to read about the technique. They'll have to read this. They'll have to read this and get an idea of what the representation may look like. This may also have to be repeated several times for a clear understanding. This can be read about online from a book or being taught from another coach who understands the skill better and can explain it in a clearer way. Another way which it might be produced is through an elite level athlete base. This is where the coach may watch an elite level athlete who's at the top of the performing grid for their given sport or event. The coach will have a visual representation of what the skill should look like and will be able to analyze how the skill is demonstrated. The coach will remember any key coaching points needed, which then they are able to feed back to athletes, which will improve their performance and technique using the technical model which the coach has learned. One way of learning and producing a technical model is through the combination approach. Within this approach, the coach uses both the literature and elite level athletes to understand the perfect technical model. They also use a video recording to analyze them in high detail to make sure they don't miss any small details which potentially affect the performance completely. With the combination approach, it allows an insight in various ways. One way may be more useful to a certain coach and will help them adapt their idea of the perfect model, and therefore produce a technical model. Because the coach is watching the performance and reading about it, this is subjective. This is because subjectivity solely relies more on observing parts of skill rather than independent measures and how far someone jumps in long jumps. This would be more objective. So there are also three phases of performance which are key in any skill within any sport. These include the preparation. This is done before the skill is complete to ensure that is either beat the opponent or the skill will work well. The next part is the execution. This is where the skill will be taken place and completed. The last stage is recovery. This is where the athlete has completed the skill and is looking to either clear the ball or carry on with the ball after they've beaten the opponent. If we put this into a sporting context, we can see this in rugby, for example, a drop kick. So we can see this in a drop kick. We can see on the first picture of this slide here that it shows the individual preparing to catch the ball and they're in a strong position with the favoured kicking leg stance back so it can generate more power. This is the preparation. They're looking for the ball and they have their eyes lined up and they know where they want it to go. The next three slides are the execution of the skill. The athlete is then catching the ball, angling their head downwards so they are able to generate the height and have the correct form to make sure the ball will continue going straight and to make sure they do not fall back when kicking the ball. The athlete then angles the ball the way they want it to bounce just in front of them. They then step forwards with their strong foot and plant this. This will stay here until the ball is dropped. The athlete then steps using their weak foot, and at this time the ball will be let go of. The athlete will then use their stronger leg to generate the power and kick the ball, keeping their head down. We will then move on to the recovery stage of the drop kick. This is after the athlete has kicked the ball. The athlete will then be able to look for where the ball has gone, but however, the strong, powerful leg should still be straight and follow through to make sure the ball is continuing in the direction they want. After they have kicked the ball, the athlete will be looking to chase the ball and regain possession of it. So how do we collect data? There are various ways in which data is collected for the technical model. Normally coaches will be watching the players during their training sessions, correcting any techniques which may look off from that coach's idea of the technical model. However, when the athletes move on to the more elite stages of their performance, the method and the way they collect data is collected changes to a much higher standard of recording. This is done through video. Most of the athletes' performance will be filmed, and there are various types of software which will capture this in slow motion. For those who cannot afford the most expensive software, most phones are able to do this capture in slow motion, meaning even lower level teams who do not have the expensive equipment are able to do this. This is where the coach will record the player and evaluate any changes needed. They will then be able to replay this video constantly and let the players also watch their own performance, which for some is more useful to see where they are going wrong. One piece of software which a coach or a team might use is called SlowPro software. This software records the performance in high quality and is able to be slowed down to 1000 frames per second in slow motion. This means the coach can look closely where the technique is going wrong and optimize their performance by doing this. This means the technique and the performer is analyzed thoroughly, making sure even the slightest adjustment is correct. This can be compared to other videos of an elite performer side by side showing the difference between the two. The second piece of software which is normally used is called Coach's Eye. This is a piece of software which can be used on any type of camera. The video can be broken down, drawn on to show the angles of the performers and the correct angle of what the technique should look like so they can correct this. The video performance can be distributed very easily to the whole team for a review of the skills shown and performed. The coach can also talk over the video, talking through how they are supposed to change and correct their technique. The software can be used on multiple angles, allowing a widespread 360-degree angle and watching all around the athlete to make sure nothing is going wrong within their motion. It can also be instant replay, so it can be quickly changed. However, with both these software, we must make sure that the video is set up correctly. This means, for example, within football and a free kick, we'd rather see the run-up and the kick rather than just the kick. This is because if something goes wrong, it may be to do with their run instead of the actual kick. This is why it's important to analyse the whole technique rather than a key part, meaning the camera must be set up perfectly. We then move on to what is the most perfect model for basketball. For basketball, the skill perfect model for the box out is this. First begins with the preparation phase. Within this phase, the athlete is making contact with the player by extending their arm and placing it against the opposition's body. This is to understand where they are and to make sure they don't lose track of them. The player is also looking in the eyes of the attacker, analysing where they are watching, and they are watching where the ball is at the same time and estimating when the shot is going to be taken and where it will be placed. As the ball is in the air and travelling to the basket, the player will plant their foot in front of the attacker's leg to make sure they are unable to get past them on their stronger side. The player then turns into a sideways movement to block the opponent from moving their other leg around, creating a barrier. Evidently the block. The player will get low and spread the legs out. This creates a strong defensive base with a powerful stance. This makes sure they are ready to pivot and create explosive jump also, and to make sure they can't be pushed over. The defender will also keep their arms back and spread out to have an understanding where the attacker is at all times. The defender will then pivot depending on where the attacker tries and gets past them. We then move on to the execution of the box out. This includes the defender watching the ball and timing when they should use their explosive power to jump and reach for the ball. Once they have this, the defender will use a 2-foot jump to reach the maximum height and out-jump their opponent. They will create an upwards drive with their arms, swinging them upwards to generate more motion throughout the jump. Once they have reached their max height and the peak of their jump, they will use a two-hand catch and grip the ball firmly in a power position, meaning they're able to pass the ball with power when they are needed to. As they begin to land, they will bring the ball into their chin to avoid the attacker from reaching over and smacking or stealing the ball. With bringing it to its chin, it's difficult to reach out, and if it gets smacked, it will rebound off their chest, and most likely the defender can regain possession again. The final stage is a recovery stage. With this comes the part where the player is landing and is deciding what to do with the ball. To start off with, the player is tucking the ball into the chin, and with a two-hand grip, they will begin pivoting their They will begin to pivot around in the air slowly to divert away from the attacker and return back to him. This creates a blockage from the attacker to the ball. It will never turn towards the player, as the attacker will be able to steal the ball easily. During this, the defender will also be looking for a teammate or options. This is because the player wants to quickly use the ball and get an advantage, and to make sure the attacker can't get to them, or if they see space for their team to take advantage of. When the player lands, they will have their feet in a powerful position, which would be low and spread. So this is why they can move. This so they can pivot quickly and keep the ball out of the way of the contact. Once this is complete, the player would have found a position or a player the ball should be passed to, and so this would be complete. This is the ideal technique for the box out. We're then comparing a perfect model to not so perfect model, basically. So the perfect model on the first slide for the preparation, we're able to see the perfect model shows the preparation phase in an excellent stance on the tippy toes, ready to move quickly and is low and in a powerful position, meaning they are able to explode with power. They have their arm resting on the attacker, making sure they are able to track where the individual is and to make sure they don't get past. We can also see from the eyesight of the defender they are watching both the player, but they are also watching the ball and tracking where the shot is going to be placed. If we then look at Jack on the right, we can see he has his arm resting on the player, making sure that he keeps the track of the individual and knows where he is moving around him. However, Jack has many things off. He is not in a powerful position, he has his legs straight and back rather slouched over, meaning the attacker can easily sidestep past Jack or outpower him. Jack's eyesight is also only locked onto the ball, and the player who is only locked onto the ball, and the player who is taking the shot, meaning he would be able to react in time to the attacker moving around him, or would be able to have an idea if they were moving. By looking at the perfect model in the execution phase, we can see they have put their feet in front of the attacker and blocked them, which keeps them out of an advantage, as now they're able to pivot around the player and they make sure they don't get past them. We can also see that the player's arms are behind him, which is to keep in contact with the defender, to keep the knowledge of where they are and might be moving to. When the player has jumped for the ball, we can also see that he's used his stance to his advantage. Because he was lower in a powerful pace, he can use an explosive power to jump higher than the attacking opponent and reach for the ball. Although Jack isn't perfect in this, he is massively improved from the preparation phase. We can see comparisons between the two, with them both having the power base and using this to jump up and reach the ball. Another comparison is that Jack has also spread his arms up and made sure he is wide, making it difficult for the player to get around him. We then move on to recovery, and during the recovery phase, we're able to see that the player has chinned the ball, keeping the ball under their chin, making sure no player can reach over and slap the ball out of their hands. We can also see the players rotated in there, turning their back to the opponent, making sure they aren't facing them. The players are also looking for a teammate to pass to get the ball out of danger. With Jack, we can see the comparisons and differences with the recovery stage. Jack hasn't chinned the ball, meaning it would be easier for the ball to be stolen. However, he has rotated in the air to make sure his back is against the player, stopping them from having an easy target and being able to snatch the ball from him. Yeah, another difference between Jack and the perfect model is that Jack is not looking for a teammate to pass the ball to, meaning when he lands, he'll have to spend most time looking for space, meaning the attacker can move around him or get in front of his pass. Overall, Jack has improved on his recovery stage, which is fair eyesight, a strong stance. Within the execution stage, Jack improved though, with no improvement really needed here. However, in recovery, it could be improved on. Jack could rotate more and also chin the ball, keeping it safe. Last improvement, Jack could be the eyesight. He could be looking for a teammate to pass to. Advantage of this is that it can be divided into phases. This means it can be split up and analysed in certain parts to see where improvement might need to be focused on. It can also be used to create coaching points as it has high fine detail. Another advantage is that it can be used for training methods, for the refinement of a technique, for example. With this, you are also able to show the player and give them visual guidance, which is more useful to some players. The software used throughout the notational analysis can be slowed down, zooming in key parts which may be too quick for a normal video. It can also be overplayed and compared to in a key model. It also shows why an error might be made in high detail, so it can be spoken about and worked on. A disadvantage is that, however, there are also disadvantages to this. This is because it's harder to do it live, as there is a fast-paced game ahead, and it's being watched and having to be marked at the same time, therefore experiencing